Ratliff and Oishi actually wrote, thinking of themselves as unsuccessful might trigger men's feel that their partner will ultimately leave them. Now, you could argue that from a biological standpoint as well, because we want to pair up. We want to have the whole biological purpose of pairing up is to have offspring. And if your mate says, yeah, "See you later," you can't provide. You know what I mean? You would think that would trigger a biological response.
Something like jealousy is totally innate. Jealousy is not some sort of societal construct. It's like hardwired in your brain. Like, fuck, my mate is talking to somebody of the opposite sex. Arrgh.
Let's go get him. I'll
well, Steve-O would disagree from TYT. He would disagree with you even on that jealousy issue.
You think that's societal?
Yes, and I agree with him on it too. I also agree with him on that too.
Oh wow!
Okay. I do believe that it is. I don't believe that naturally that we are monogamous. I don't. That's not a natural thing.
No. Wait a second.
You know what I think?
I'm not disagreeing on that point. Just to be clear, I'm not disagreeing on that. But I do think jealousy is definitely something that's inherent. I don't think that's learned.
Okay, I think that this is where it crosses over. This is where I think the lines get blurred a little bit, because I think that monogamy is not natural, okay?
I agree.
That is something that we force into our nature through culture. But that jealousy that you're talking about, you know, that Kevin is saying it isn't natural, it is cultural, but you're saying is a natural inclination. I think both are true, because I think that the inclination to be protective against someone, protective of something that we deem ours, to be protective of something that we deem as, you know, mine, that is a natural inclination, I think, to naturally defend, say, your home territory, you know, to naturally defend your belongings. But that becomes jealousy towards people against other people when we start to think of people as ours. So we think of our mate culturally as belonging to us, and thus if something is threatening that, then we get jealous, and that is a natural inclination. But monogamy itself is not, and thinking of people as ours, I do not think is a natural.
Do you think jealousy is like a side effect of monogamy?
A side effect, yes.
No. See,
absolutely.
I disagree, and let me explain why. If you were to go to, and I've seen it on you know, TV before, where they go and visit traditional Mormon cultures where there is polygamy, and even in a situation where a man could be married to like 6 or 7 different women, if he sees one of his wives talking to another man, he still feels jealous. So it's not. I get your point about not feeling like there's possession involved, but
that's
either
a polygamous society, though. That's not
polygamists are very possessive, though, too, as well.
But what I'm saying is, no matter how you divvy it up, no matter what kind of society you're talking about, whether you're talking about a society with nothing but serial bachelors where everybody it's, you know, free love, free sex, or you go to a culture that tries to be monogamous or one that tries to be polygamous, no matter where you go, and of course it varies from person to person. I'm not saying everybody is always jealous all the time. Of course there's some people who naturally are significantly less jealous than other people, but I don't think, I can't see to say that jealousy is not something that's a innate or natural. To me, that's like saying, well, hunger is not innate. But hunger is innate. People get hungry sometimes. That's how it works.
But doesn't jealousy come from insecurity, though?
Yeah, I just think they're vastly different. But to get back on topic of the article, I think that, you know, while I opine that what I really think happens with the fact that you might feel insecure and whatnot, it comes from a lack of social training that teaches you that, you know, how to interact with each other, how to interact with the opposite sex, and we truly lack that in this country, if not in the entire world. You know, the species interaction lacks a little bit in that if men were to realize that the way they interact with children can be much more beneficial, you know, to a relationship than the amount that they provide. You see what I'm saying? But men of this country aren't generally like that. They're, providers, and women, they need to look good. They need to look good. There's these social stereotypes, got to be skinny, got to be a certain weight. Well, men have to provide. They have to do this. They have to do that. Both sexes are strongly affected by those situations, and what they're not affected by yet in with like the older generation is the fact that they don't understand the opposite sex as well because of the separation and the stigmas that have been attached for so long, that the only way to break those is to start teaching people younger about those stigmas and being open and being able to discuss those. Yeah. And that's hard to do.
See, I think now, people would probably gonna agree with you more than they would agree with me on this. But I don't buy the progressive argument or liberal argument, or actually sociologist argument on this, where it's like you can literally mold a culture to be anything, right? I don't believe in that. That's a specific sociologist that believed in that. I can't remember his name right now, and he first thought of that notion that if you give me a blank slate of a person from birth, I can make him into whatever you want. I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
I think we also have natural personalities. I think we have personalities which are innate to each of us as well. That you're not going to create just from a blank mold, a doctor, for example, of someone who's just meant to be a musician.
No, easily.
Yeah, maybe you want to be an artist.
You can easily mold anybody for almost anything. I really believe in the fact that they can. I can give you some great examples of, maybe not to the finer details as what you're saying, but I can give you some examples. Has your child ever come up to you and said, I'm bored. Well, why don't you do this or this or this? If you've answered them that way, you've done something wrong. If you just acknowledge it, I hear you, I acknowledge you, and then just ignore them and let them solve that problem, you're going to have two completely different personalities. You're going to have one that's more confident and knows how to problem solve a little bit better, and the other is going to constantly rely on the external input in order to be able to function. Just in that's just a very, very basic form, and that can get as detailed as you want into all different kinds of things. So yes, there are, if somebody who's trained and really understands sociology can pretty much mold. If you gave them a culture and isolated it, they could pretty much mold that entire culture in any way, shape, or form that they wanted.
I disagree, man.
Look,
nature.
I can't buy that.
Yeah, nature always, at our basest level, nature will always override nurture. And look, you can see it in your personal life. If you've ever tried to make a pact.
Yeah, but there's only three natural things.
I will not engage in any sexual activity for a week. And then after 2.5 days, you're like, the fuck, I'll fuck a couch cushion right now. But what I'm saying is, and you might say, the things are limited, and I agree that they are limited, but they have a wide reach. Those things have a wide reach into the rest of our lives and how we function.
Nature isn't large. You have your drive to. You obviously have your drive to procreate. I mean, if you didn't, your species would fail. So obviously there are certain natural things that you're not going to get over. But when you're born with you're born with three natural necessities, and that's it. Sustenance, protection, which some people call shelter, but protection, because in infancy, and then also touch, association. If you don't touch somebody, they die. Somebody cannot live without being touched. Every infant will die if they're not touched.
Right, it's called failure to thrive. My grandmother actually saw it in the orphanage she used to be at.
So, when you start off with, yes, there are basic things in nature that you have to have, and those are kind of understood. Outside of that, you can really mold, socially. You can mold social groups, very easily. It's very easy to manipulate social groups.
Yeah, I think that culture changes people significantly, but I don't think that it's entirely black and white at all. And I think that nature is a much bigger chunk than I think that you believe it is.
Yeah, see, I agree with you. Yeah, see, I think nature. I agree with you that yes, of course you can. I mean, look, our culture exists. Here in the South they have another culture. You go to Malaysia, they have another culture. Eskimos have another culture. Obviously, there's a variation within human beings, and there could be all different types of belief systems about all different types of things and all different types of traditions that you have. Nobody's arguing that that's not true. But what I'm arguing is that there are limits to that, and I think people need to remember that at a basic level, look, people forget, we're animals. We are animals. Like, you eat, you shit, you sleep, you're going to die one day. That's how this works. Like, so there's obviously limitations as to how far, a human being can be molded. At a base level, we're primates.
For an example, as much as you want little Timmy to be a football star, to play football, there's a good chance that they still might want to actually do something else.